Tribunal holds election of Monday Okpebolo as governor of Edo State, dismisses PDP petition.
President Tinubu embarks on working visit to Paris, the French capital.
Reactions trail change in leadership at NNPCL as Bashir Bayo Ojulari assumes office.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss National Development Plans 2026 to 2030 under the Renewed Hope agenda.
Development plans are long-term programs crafted to effect permanent structural changes in a country through public and private involvement in and outside the economy.
And Nigeria has had quite a number of these plans through the years. Now, the first National Development Plan, which was to run from 1962 to 1968, was affected by political events. And thereafter, between 1970 and 74, the second National Development Plan aimed to rebuild the country after the Civil War.
That's true, Victor. The country also had its third National Development Plan between 1975 and 1980, targeted at industrialization and infrastructure development. Then the fourth National Development Plan came on board between 1981 and 1985. It was confronted with challenges due to economic downturn and debt servicing.
Well, there have been several other development plans in the 1990s up, until the 2000s. But today, the country's current National Development Plan 2001 to 2025, being midwifed by the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, targets economic growth, poverty reduction, job creation, improved health and education, with specific initiatives in social development, infrastructure, and economic diversification.
Let me briefly summarize the key goals of this plan. It aims to achieve an average economic growth of 4.6%, lift 35 million people out of poverty, create 21 million full-time jobs, and increase the revenue to GDP ratio to 15%.
Now, the focus here is on bridging the infrastructure gap, optimizing sources of economic growth, and building a productive human resource base, social development.
And the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning is also implementing initiatives to improve access to quality health care and education, with a focus on gender equality and inclusive development.
Now, the ministry is already developing a successor plan to the current plan under the Renewed Hope agenda, with clear goals set to empower more Nigerians, strengthen the economic capacity of citizens, and create wealth. Officials of the ministry will be joining us today to speak more on this 2026 to 2030 successor plan. On that note, let me welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. I am Victor Azu.
Let me join Victor. I am Ademola Adeye to welcome you to the program. Newspaper Review with Chukwudi Okoli Ugbaja will get to you shortly, but first, let's get the news from Mina Daniels. Good morning, Mina.
Hello, Ademola and Victor. Good morning. Here is the news. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has embarked on a short working visit to Paris, France. The presidential flight took off from the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at about 2:30 Wednesday afternoon. During the visit, the president will appraise his administration's midterm performance and assess key milestones. He will also use the retreat to review the progress of ongoing reforms and engage in strategic planning ahead of his administration's second anniversary. The Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has dismissed the 3 petitions challenging the victory of Monday Okpebholo as governor. The 3-man tribunal, led by Justice Wilfred Ochi, gave the verdict in Abuja. The governing All Progressives Congress has described comments by the former governor of Anambra State and Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, during his recent appearance on Arise TV News as unpatriotic, adding that the opposition has taken this too far. A statement signed by the National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka, said Peter Obi's usual self-glorification of "if I was the president, I would have done better" is mischievous, untrue, and unrealistic owing to his poor performance in Anambra State for 8 years. The statement further said President Tinubu met a huge economic crisis on ground, which he never hesitated to proffer solutions to put the country on a sound footing of taking its rightful place amongst the Committee of Nations. And in line with industry practice, Nigeria's National Petroleum Company, the NNPCL, has undergone its first major turnaround maintenance, repositioning it for the challenges ahead. The restreaming is to be driven by a new management and board, headed by Bashir Bayo Ojulari as GCEO and Ahmed Musakida as chairman, just as Mele Kolokere and his team take a bow and step aside. The National Orientation Agency, NOA, says campaign against fuel scooping is yielding positive results as it takes feedback to government and other stakeholders for immediate action. The agency is urging relevant authorities to prioritize the concerns being raised. And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Ademola and Victor after the break.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, 1 person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, 1 person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary healthcare center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
The sport is very, very important to the special kid needs. Engaging in this kind of activities, moving the wheelchair with the strength, is a form of exercise to reduce that stiffness of the muscle. It makes them to be self-dependent, not depending. We should believe that there is ability in their disabilities.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Ìjọba fún wa ní 75,000. NIN mi àti káàdì láti lọ gbà. Nígbà tí mo sì gbà, mo fi ṣe nǹkan tó dáa, mo ra oògùn nínú rẹ̀. Mo ra oúnjẹ tí màá jẹ nínú rẹ̀. Mo sì wọkọ̀ mi náà ń bẹ. A sì fi yòókù ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ ajé pé ká tó máa rí dé bá. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìjọba wa òkè.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during internment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Up next is newspaper review.
Our newspaper reviewer, Chukwudi Okoli Ugbaja, is here. Chooks, good morning to you.
How are you, Demola?
I'm doing great.
Morning, my dear. I don't want to, cast a pall on your day, but Saka scored on his return. Victor, how are you doing, my dear?
Well, I'm all right. I could be better. Good morning.
Smile a bit. The world is not on your shoulders. That's what one American lady told me on the Houston Lift, Adams Mark Hotel. Say, smile a little. It's not as if you're bearing the world on your shoulders. It was my first time to the U.S. It was all over
let's get to the papers. And I'll start with the Daily Times. And the lead story here reads, FCT Police Command clean up Abuja to commemorate Day. FCT Police Command clean up Abuja to commemorate Day. That story is on page 2. And of course, the picture story shows President Bola Tinubu as he left for Paris yesterday. And below that story, that picture story, Injustice Unveiled, Aisha Achimugu's Ordeal. That's on page 8. Injustice Unveiled, Aisha Achimugu's Ordeal. And beside it, Oluremi Tinubu celebrates World Autism Awareness Day 2025. You get details on page 12. And above the nameplate, Tribunal affirms Okpebholo as duly elected Edo State Governor. That story is on page 2. And that takes us to the blueprint. Of course, the Tribunal story runs across dailies as you would expect. Just beside that, above the nameplate, Nigeria, UNIDO signed $174.5 million deal to create jobs and boost development. Details on page 8. And the major story here reads, Optimism as Ojulari Kida take over at NNPCL. Tinubu sets $30 billion investments, 2 million barrels per day target for new board by 2027. And team capable of achieving surpassing targets, that's credited to Tompolo. And Abdul Razak hails new GCEO's pedigree. Analyst warns Kyari's prudence sustained. Demola.
All right, I have the leadership newspaper with me, and just above the nameplate, we have the 2027 Politicking, concerns over fate of Constitution Amendment bills. Details of that story can be found on page 4. CSOs urge lawmakers to prioritize exercise over politics. National Assembly assures of December deadline. And that's just it on the leadership newspaper. Just at the back page, we have that Nigeria must end mob violence. That's referring to the Uromi lynching.
I think the major story here is the change of baton at the NNPCL, Chukwude.
It is a major story, and you want to wish Engineer Bashir Bayo Ojulari, well, he and his team. Yesterday I asked if it is old wine in old bottle. Old bottle because, it's a bureaucracy. It goes on and on. But new wine would be there if fresh ideas are being brought in, if things that would revolutionize a bit the way the place is run are being brought in and all that. So we can only wish him and his team well. And also the chairman as well, that's Engineer Amadou Kida Musa. And to be fair to the former helmsman, some modest gains were made. Even if it's just the return of those refineries to work. Yeah. It is something. In Nigeria, we hardly praise you because of other considerations, but we must acknowledge what even your enemy has achieved, because that's the only way you can sleep well at night, telling it the way it is.
I've heard people say that if Kyari could at least set us off to producing again at home, that the new management should be able to, stop us entirely from importing.
Let us, my opinion, I keep saying Tinubu is a competent person and he tends to bring in people who know. Let us hope that this is one of those Tinubu team people who know what to do. Forget all the things you hear and all that. I think the president has a knack for getting people who can get certain things done. And you don't go to sleep when you work for him. If you don't do well, he gives you the butt. He kicks your... I didn't say where he's kicking. you know. Yes. There's one you didn't read, which this, for me, is an opportunity for us to always talk to Nigerians. Trust all Nigerians as indigenes, that's natives. Sultan tells governors, Sokoto does not have the non-indigene thing. They don't have it there. They treat everybody as one. And come to think of it, Lagos has demonstrated that to some extent. Some members of the Lagos State House of Assembly are not from Lagos State. Till Africa reduces its Africanism, and the governor can aspire to governorship in a state that he doesn't come from, Africa will not get it right. We are too African. It's still the clan arrangement in modern terms. Let's open up. Who are those that have developed your village? Go and check. Many of the investments in your village are not by your own people. It is those people who call non-indigens, the settlers and all that, that actually develop a community. So let's open our arms to these people.
Yeah.
Very
True.
important.
Okay.
Very
And
important.
then the Edo State Tribunal affirming, well, it's just the beginning, right?
Why are you so pessimistic? They could demonstrate what I call the equanimity of the northerner. I know it's a south-south state. What do I mean by that? This is how God wants it. Let's leave it, let it go.
That's why I said it's just the beginning, because I know we never stop.
They are likely to appeal.
We never stop.
Nigerian politicians hardly admit defeat.
The indication is there already.
It's unfortunate. But there's glory. You see, Goodluck Jonathan has done a lot in this country. This country can never wish away whatever you think. He's not just a humble man. It remains on record. He's the first person to say, I concede. Let us learn from the humble people. Arrogance does not take you anywhere. I'm talking from experience. My life started getting sweeter when I learned some level of humility. I'm still learning. Otherwise, I will just come drop to
But you have the right to appeal if you feel that there is some injustice.
And we're not saying that. But is it a case of, yes, truly the other party has been wronged all the time? We should from time to time see cases where they say, oh,
no, if it's glaring,
he won.
If it's glaring.
Yeah, if it's glaring.
Yeah, but this, I don't think there's, well,
if it's
glaring.
glaring.
That's what they're saying, actually.
It's okay.
It's contestable.
I think Chukwudi is saying every time. So it is always, there's always a glaring
much of the time.
injustice all the time.
I don't know. The adjective you guys choose is not mine. It is your adjective. Glaring is your adjective.
No, well, I'm quoting,
Yes.
I'm quoting
you know, one thing, the black man, you see, when I come here, I don't talk about Nigeria. It is still the same problem plaguing the people in Zimbabwe that is plaguing Nigerians, plaguing South African blacks. Remember, when Mandela came, it was Uhuru for everybody, come to think of it. But over time, APC took South Africa down to the way Africans reason. We have to come out of it. Go and look at the party now. They needed a coalition the other time. A whole APC, not APC, please. APC people go with ANC. ANC, please. African National Congress. Africa should rise up there and think. If we don't do it, waka 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 movement no day.
Well, I think we're just evolving. So, I mean, we should just...
we are still evolving,
yes, we're just evolving. It takes time.
Okay.
It takes time.
Maybe they should study our brains to know how, tepid development happens sometimes.
All right. Okay, Chooks. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No. The FCT, we are not thanking you yet.
Yeah, I heard
the FCT Police Command is doing cleanup. I don't know exactly in commemoration of what day.
You see, Victor,
no,
that
is
the
second year anniversary.
Do not explain for the editor. Do not explain on behalf of the editor. I left that because I quarreled with that headline.
Not explicit.
Which day? Look at that headline.
No, I don't have it.
Journalists should not just go on the air to criticize other people. Let us learn to start the criticism from our newsroom. What sort of headline is that? Read it again. It doesn't make sense to commemorate day. What day is incomplete? But the point is, let's go to the essence. anything that is done in the FCT is a microcosm of what should happen in the larger society. We take example from them. Just as we say Lagos is a model to many of us, you know. So let us positively speak to the issue there. Everybody should support any development effort that happens in the FCT because we all look up to the center. FCT is, you know, almost in an agglutinating relationship with the center.
And there's so much development going on in FCT now. I mean, roads have been I mean,
you know,
communities.
When I don't think I'm
Wike
I don't think I'm a fan of Wike's politics. I don't know how to pretend, but let's leave that aside. Wike is a bulldozer. I did a series of documentaries for Onolememe.
Onolememe. That is during the time of.
I had to look for the tones. It's Onolememe.
Okay.
To be able to read those series.
Okay.
Like him, I called on Olememe the roadmaster. Wike is the super roadmaster. Go to Kershi Road from Jaja to Kershi. See what he's doing. Now he's building drainages the way drainages should be built. That man is a bird of many habits. Don't rush to criticize or condemn Wike.
He's opening up communities.
My brother, this one, now they look and they see him. Let's do well today so that tomorrow when we criticize Wike, we would also do it with a lot of gusto. But today is Wike's day because the man is a performer. Tinubu said it. It was Ruben Abati who asked him that question. The FCT minister, people are complaining, he's tearing down places and all that. He's a Tinubu in his characteristic drawl. Nigerians do not like anybody who holds them accountable to what they should do for their country. People are not paying their tenement. Go and check FCT. The big men of FCT, many of them are not paying their land, whatever.
Dues.
That's the truth. Every time, Wike too bad. He's still loquacious. He's still that. He's in more loquacious than Chukudi. Leave the man alone. He's performing.
We all have excesses anyway.
We all have our excesses. As long as it doesn't hurt the other man too much. Be yourself.
Well, yesterday was World Autism Day 2025. And the First Lady was, of course, big on that.
Yes.
You want to, talk again about the fact that we, as a country, we haven't been able to set up in such a way that these ones who are disadvantaged, let me put it that way, are able to properly integrate, properly, live their lives as it should be. The infrastructure is not always there to take care of them. Particularly, these ones are particularly special needs children.
Yeah, there are special needs, but it depends on the perspective you're taking it from. I teach school, spoken English, and when I run into autistic children, I see children who are who put up a stellar performance in terms of reasoning. You're going to find it strange with all those things you see. When there's one called Sam, I praise the quality of his English. You know what happened to Sam? Sam would get glued to cartoons to make up for his... and the others will go to school and all that. In the process, Sam bettered his English to the level his other siblings cannot take it. And when this dad comes to drop Sam, I say, how did he acquire that level of English speech? He say, you want to know about Sam and cartoons.
They learn a lot in cartoons, yeah.
There's something special about those children. So the disadvantage we put there, throw that adjective away again.
That's true, because
that's true.
I remember my boy then. He loves cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
But when he speaks, you now be wondering, this guy speaks good English.
Oh, yeah. I told him,
from the cartoon,
the fact that what caught my attention first was, he was looking at a picture on the ground, and I said, hey, Sam, that's a big elephant there. He looked up at me and said, that's not an elephant, that's a bear. How many Nigerian children pronounce bear as bear? They call it beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's weekend, so you can take your beer.
Okay.
So we take a break now.
Bless
Just thanks
you.
for coming.
Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll go for a break. We'll be back shortly after the break. Stay with us.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
The sport is very, very important to the special kid needs. Engaging in this kind of activities, moving the wheelchair with the strength, is a form of exercise to reduce that stiffness of the muscle. It makes them to be self-dependent, not depending. We should believe that there is ability in their disabilities.
Nigeria is perched on a treasure trove of solid minerals. Gold, coal, tantalum, tin, but none is more critical to our future or the world's future like lithium.
Let's talk about illegal mining operations. What is our strategy?
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in color, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Each ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry life. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Welcome to Silver Oasis.
Silver Oasis, a TV series dedicated to aging and older persons in Nigeria. Be part of this series and discover the transformative programs crafted to give a new lease of life to our senior citizens, courtesy of the National Senior Citizen Center.
The National Senior Citizen Center is the oasis for the senior citizens.
For thought-provoking discussions on aging, geriatric social care, and issues that matter most to our senior citizens.
Silver Oasis.
Silver Oasis.
Silver Oasis. Tune in to Silver Oasis on the network service of the NTA every Saturday at 10:05 p.m. Silver Oasis, improving the quality of lives of senior citizens.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Our conversation today is on the 2026 to 2030 National Development Agenda under the Renewed Hope Agenda. To set the tone for the discussion, let's take a listen to this background report by Ibrahim Bello Gunda.
The importance of development to the growth and sustenance of any nation cannot be overemphasized. National development planning in Nigeria can be divided into 3 different phases according to the time in which they took place and the manner of development planning involved in each phase. The era of fixed medium-term planning, 1962 to 1985, the era of rolling plan, 1990 to 1998, and the new democratic dispensation, 1999 to date. Following an end to the military rule in 1999, the maiden development plan introduced by the new administration involved the implementation of a 4-year medium-term plan document designed to unlock the country's potentials in all sectors of the economy for a sustainable, holistic and inclusive national development. During the plan period, government focuses on sectors with great potentials to generate jobs for its people and with multiplier effect on other sectors while investing in critical infrastructure such as power, alternative energy, rail, roads and housing, and ensure macroeconomic stability, enhance businesses and investment environment, and improve the living conditions of Nigerians. However, despite the various phases of development planning, there are various challenges that hinders full implementation of the National Development Plan. The current National Development Plan is coming to an end this year, and a new Renewed Hope Agenda with the successor Medium-Term National Development Plan 2026 to 2030 is underway. What differentiates this National Development Plan from previous ones? How will it address challenges of past National Development Plans? And how will it achieve average economic growth, lift millions of Nigerians out of poverty, create full-time jobs, raise revenue to GDP ratio, as well as improve health and education of the population? These and more will be some of the questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria will find answers to on the program.
Many thanks, Ibrahim Bello Gunda, for that background report. And to begin our conversation this morning, let me introduce here in the studio Dr. Vitalis Obi MNI. He is the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. A pleasure to welcome you back to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Victor. Thank you for having me.
All right, let me also introduce Dr. Kenneth Kujeli, Director of Plans and Projects, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and good morning, Nigerians.
Also joining us here in the studio, we have Mr. Felix Okonkwo. He is the Director of Macroeconomic Analysis, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Mr. Okonkwo, thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Nigerians.
All right. Also joining us here in the studio is Dr. Samson Ebimaro, Director, International Cooperation, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. So let's start with the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, Dr. Vitalis Obi. Can you just give us an overview of when we say National Development Plan, what exactly are we talking about? And just probably give us a lowdown of several development initiatives, since 1962.
Yeah, once again, good morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having us. At the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, we have the singular task of handholding and housing the National Development Plan, which in itself is the spine of the nation's catalytic growth for both the economy and driving it to where it ought to be. Okay. Like you said, Nigeria has had development plans after independence. The first National Development Plan from 1962 to 1968 witnessed a rapid growth infrastructure across the Nigerian landscape. It was truncated by the Civil War. A new National Development Plan was also birthed after the end of the Civil War. And that also helped to accelerate the infrastructural development, economic growth especially that Nigeria was resonating from the oil boom sector. Resources we had were driven to grow the economy. And like any other nation on the earth, for a nation to achieve where it ought to go, it needs a drive, it needs a vision, it needs a mission, it needs a strategic plan. And Nigeria had a strategic plan in action, and she was following it diligently. And it has helped the country to get to where it is today. The administration has now bettered another new agenda called Nigeria Agenda 2050, which comprises of 6 trenches of 5-year medium-term development plan. And the first of it is from National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, which is currently ending December 2025. And we have other trenches coming up. So the next trench is from 2026 to 2030. Now, with a development plan, a nation can plan its priorities. A nation can achieve its goal and target to where it ought to be. Because all citizens, governments at every level, federal, state, and local, especially for Nigeria that has a federal structure, we own the plan. It will be domesticated within us. Every citizen will be speaking to it. So all our drive, all our developmental agenda, as it were, we speak to the plans. It will also help our budgeting cycle and process, so that the budget will be speaking to our priority areas. We will be spending as already budgeted for, not out of our budgeting cycle. In all, as a nation, the development plan is already a roadmap that we should all embrace, own, domesticate, legislate, and discipline ourselves to stick to it so that we get to where we ought to get to. That's the essence of having a development plan. Like the common adage says, if we plan to fail, if we fail to plan, we already plan to fail. Yes, so as a successful nation as we were, we need to handhold our plan, stick to it, discipline ourselves to follow it letter by letter until we achieve where we ought to go. So it's a rolling stone.
But what is your assessment of the existing plan, the plan that is terminating, by the end of this year? What's your assessment of the plan, key achievements, and perhaps challenges? Because that also gives you a way to look at it when you plan for the future.
The assessment of the current plan has been beautifully and masterfully executed. With the renewed hope agenda of the current administration, the renewed hope agenda was a strategy that was introduced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR to help us achieve the content of the National Development Plan. Initially, when the renewed hope agenda was birthed, it had 9 initiatives, but it was now reviewed to be able to achieve the content of the NDP 2021-25. So it was collapsed into 8 thematic areas. And those 8 thematic areas, the current administration has followed diligently to where it is. And I can successfully say that we have successfully executed those areas of the renewed hope agenda, which is speaking to the National Development Plan. The National Development Plan itself is speaking to the Nigeria Agenda 2050. So really, it has performed marvelously well. We have executed as contained in the agenda, and we are now saying that we are preparing for the successor plan to replace it from 2026 to 2030. The key thing is that Nigeria is a federal structure. There's federal, there's state, and there's local government. Every governmental structure should speak to the plan, which makes it imperative that even average citizen must have a knowledge of what the plan is. An average Nigerian should be saying, yeah, my government has planned to make this infrastructure for us according to the current plan, as it were. We want the situation where Nigerians will own, will know, and will work in tandem with everything that the plan has outlined, which makes it mandatory that all our developmental strides of governance should be tailored, patterned according to the plan. Even international development partners should plan their initiatives aligning with the National Development Plan. So all federal ministries, departments, and agencies must draw their strategic plan from the National Development Plan. With that, we will be able to achieve good governance structure, meeting the targets and the objective, as it were.
Because, we're in a political era now, and most of the time, politicians will come with their own plan and agenda, what they want to actually deliver.
Yes.
Now, how do they get this aligned with the National Development Plan? Just like you are saying now that the Renew Hope agenda, how do you align the Renew Hope agenda with the National Development Plan? Is it aligning?
It is aligning, like I said. It's already aligned, having the 8 thematic areas, 8-point agenda as it were. It was actually more than, it was 9, but it was streamlined, plan itself. So the renewed hope agenda is a drawdown of the National Development Plan as it were.
Okay.
So it's speaking to the National Development Plan. So the National Development Plan is helping to drive. So we expect that all the states, all the state and the local government, subnationals, run their own governments in alignment with the National Development Plan as well.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. B. Dr. Kujeli, in your capacity, can you give us an idea, an insight into some of the specific projects under this new plan that Nigerians should look forward to?
Thank you very much. That's interesting. Just as the Permanent Secretary had earlier said, the National Development Plan is a document that provides guidance and direction for implementation of government programs and projects. Now, what are the projects that comes in? What we deal with are what we call the capital programs. Capital projects is what we deal with. And these capital projects are driven by the various MDAs, ministry departments, and agencies. So what we do is we prepare the documents, the plan documents, in versions or in volumes. We have the policy document, then we have the volume 2. The volume 1 is the policy document, while the volume 2 is the one that contains the programs and projects which you are asking for, and the volume 3 are what we call legislative imperatives. That is, those laws, issues that needs to be addressed to enable the implementation of the plans. So under the capital programs and projects, we look at the priority areas of government and the agencies or the MDAs that implement them. Take, for example, you'll be looking at road constructions, for example. You'll be looking at social projects that has to do with either education or that has to do with health. You also be looking at projects that have to do with industrialization, and that has to do with energy, power, infrastructure. So the plan itself has admitted those programs and projects, these specific programs and projects, into the plan. So those ones that have been admitted into the plan are currently the ones being implemented. So that is why if you are talking of roads like even the bridge, the Second Niger Bridge, for example, you talk about also the construction of the roads from Abuja to Kaduna and so on and so forth. And you talk about the energy itself, the power itself. So these are all admitted into the plan and projects. And the implementation, again, depends on availability of resources. But most often, some of these capital projects, you can also look at the private sector support by way of investing in those areas. So that's what we do have when you are dealing with capital programs and projects.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kujeli, for telling us, some of the plan for implementation of this plan and project. Okay, let's go to Mr. Felix Ogonko, who is the Director of Macroeconomic Analysis. And I want to just find out, what are the strategies, that you adopt, that is being adopted actually, to achieve economic growth and, economic growth and development in the National Development Plan?
Thank you very, very much. I want to thank you for inviting this team to this meeting. It's a way of sensitizing Nigerians on what government is doing. The plan, as my previous speakers have said, is a roadmap, is a compass that government follows to implement capital programs and projects. Then, how do we do this? The plan we implemented was ERGP, Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. The plan was succeeded by NDP 2020-2025. And in doing this, what you do is, if you finish implementing one plan, you need to review that plan. Okay. What have you done right and what have you done wrong? And in doing that, plan the best practice to have it mid-term review and end-term review. And these are strategic things we do to assess performance of those plans. What are you doing correctly and what are you doing wrong? So you can make amends. So we did it for ERGP. When we're preparing the NDP 2021-2025, we did the same thing. Now that we are preparing the successor plan 2026 to 2030, we are doing it. When this government came into power, what we did in the course of the review was to get the 8 priority areas of government and align it with the plan we had, which was the current plan we have, which is 2021-2025. And then when we did the alignment, we now discovered, because we did the kind of mapping, we discovered that most of the things the new government wants to do were already in the plan, one way or the other. So what we have done is we now specified those sections of the plan, where they are, so that and informed government that these things are already in this plan. So the implementation now commenced. Every plan has strategies for implementing it, And as my colleague just said, implementation is by MDAs. They are the ones that do implementation. If you talk about infrastructure, we know key infrastructure MDAs. They are the ones that implement those infrastructure projects. Talk about social, MDAs that do social, education, health. Then address poverty, all these things. So we have strategies for implementing the projects, encapsulated in the plan we are discussing.
For instance, give us the strategies that you use, in implementing issues, in addressing issues such as poverty, inequality, unemployment, or gender equality.
Thank you very much. In the plan, there's a whole chapter on gender, poverty, and unemployment. A whole chapter devoted to poverty and all those related issues. We have key interventions in addressing poverty. For instance, you know about the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy. It's one of the key documents we implement. The ministry coordinates that project, that intervention, with various MDAs, including Ministry of Agriculture. We have Ministry of Education. We have TVET. These are the agencies that address these issues of poverty, unemployment, and the Minister of Labor and Employment. Okay. These are the issues, the agencies that address issues of poverty and unemployment. So our own in the ministry is to coordinate those agencies, provide the resources for them, and then ensure, as well as the humanitarian affairs, and ensure that those funds, those resources, are well utilized. These are the things we do.
Mr. Okonkwo, thank you. Thank you very much for your initial comments. Let me get to Dr. Ibimaro. Of course, you are in charge of international cooperation, and global partnerships play a key role in national development. So what are the major bilateral or multilateral agreements supporting this new plan?
Thank you very much for that beautiful question. And I think the bilateral agreements are important. The multilateral agreements are also important. But first of all, I need to clarify the way international development partners work with Nigeria in terms of national development. It is not just, those agreements are to facilitate what we are doing in Nigeria. What matters is, are they really working in tandem with Nigerian development plan? Those agreements are all focusing on. The most important thing is that we have what is called the Paris Declaration of 2005. They have 5 principles: ownership, alignment, harmonization, managing for result, and mutual accountability. So those are the key 5 principles governing all development partners in the world with each country they are working with. So the first important thing is that how do they work with us? First of all, in designing their projects and programs, we ensure that those documents that have been alluded by my colleagues and the permanent secretary, the National Development Plan, we put it on the table. We also provide...
So that they can key in.
So that they can key in. We also provide the Agenda 2050, okay, including the global agenda, which is called Sustainable Development Goal. All of them, they know about it. So once those things are on the table, say these are the priorities of Nigeria, that is where ownership, justify, and alignment, they are expected to align with our development plan based on the fact that it is we who owns development. You must align your priorities with our own priority, and it must harmonize. So there's also the fact that all of us have to put our mind on it that there should be mutual accountability, effective use of resources, value for money. So that is there. But the point that I wanted to quickly clarify for the Nigerian public is that most bilateral agreements, which you hear, we sign agreement and all of that, some of the money we pay counterpart in respect of those agreements, they also bring their main money either in form of loan aid or grants. So in most cases, we do not, this money is not in our coffers.
What about in form of expertise as well?
Yeah, expertise, they come. That is technical support. Okay. They come. But you also know that trade secret and this legal instrument that you must keep your trade secret, and it is not something you just put on the table for everybody to see or to take. So the development partner is always with that idea. We don't have to just freely give you our technology. You know, the world...
Don't you have agreement for training?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Transfer
of
technological...
Of course they do. Okay. But you know that aid is political as well. So we reach an agreement, but you cannot carry gun or cane to kill anybody, so that we sign an agreement that you didn't comply with it. People are selfish with their technology. They don't want to let the world have these secrets. So they just do it in a way that you are not able to really grab the technology.
So how beneficial is it then to us that we enter into these agreements?
Yes.
We sign treaties.
Of course,
and all
I'm not saying we don't benefit at all. But you cannot opt out from such a global system because first of all, you don't have it. So it's better you are there, get little by little bit of it, because the point is that there's no morality in economics. So people they are, you know, the international community, they are not wholeheartedly willing to give you, you know, for example, the person who manufactured plane, he's not just ready to give you how it is done.
Trade secret.
Trade secret and all of that. You know, so these are some of the things that govern bilateral agreement. Though the things are there that we will give you aid, we will give you grants, we will give you technical assistance, but are they wholeheartedly committed? For example, each country is supposed to give 0.7% of their GDP to international development, to international support. But how many countries complies with it?
Does Nigeria comply?
For developed countries, for OECD, I'm talking about OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. So they are supposed to contribute 0.7% of their GDP to support international development, international assistance. But they are not just there. Only few can reach even 0.5 or 6. But nobody has scale at the international system. It's like a T-road junction with no traffic light, no traffic warning. So there's a kind of chaos.
Which is the more reason why Nigeria should be a bit more independent in our own planning and all of those. And that's why I'm going to ask Dr. Vitalis Obi again, what's the vision driving this successor plan? And how does it build on the existing plan?
Okay. A strategic plan begins with a vision. A vision, it has a vision, has a mission, it has a clear objectives that is meant to achieve. In my hand here is the current National Development Plan. Okay. So this is it. It's clearly stated.
I hope the camera can see that.
National Development Plan 2021.
Just for a moment so that the camera can pick it.
Okay, please go ahead.
Go ahead. So this is National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, Volume 1. Like I said, it's the first of 6 5-year medium-term development plan that has been divided into this and cascaded down to 2050, implementing the broader, longer-term visionary plan of Nigeria Agenda 2050, which itself is even a drawdown of the AU, African AU Agenda 2063. Okay. That's its continental agenda. Even the AU self-agenda speaks to the Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations. Just to show you that, like an inverted comma, inverted pyramid rather, you could see there is a worldwide global United Nations Sustainable Development Goal plan, which is global, international, which now comes to the continent called AU itself. I mean, AU Agenda 2063. Nigeria draws from the AU, we now have Nigeria Agenda 2050. Now, our own national development plan is coming from the Nigeria Agenda 2050 to have the national development plan spread over from 2020 to 2050, 30 years. 30 divided by 6 trenches is 5 years. So we have 5 packs of national development plans moving. Like my director of microanalysis earlier said, there was a plan called Economic and ERGP, yes, Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, which ran from 2017 to 2020. It was then the revision. Like any plan, you must have a plan to revise it. You revise, you review it, and you monitor and evaluate it from beginning to the end. In the revision, you now see where are setbacks, what challenges did you encounter in it. It was the revision of it that gave birth to the National Development Plan, as it were. Okay. And now we have the 4th trench. Now, we have successfully executed it to where it is now. And the blueprint that the current administration is using to implement it is the Renewed Hope Agenda. The Renewed Hope Agenda is implementation strategic pathway, strategic blueprint to implement the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, speaking to 8 thematic areas, from recovering of the economic growth through boosting agriculture and food security, accelerating growth in human capital development, health, education, transport, promoting infrastructure development and transport and co, even promoting digitalization of the entire economy. These are all contained in the 8-point agenda, and government has taken strategic steps. Now, the president in his ascension took bold reformative steps. Fuel subsidy was removed. The forex market was unified. Consumer credit scheme was launched to help Nigerians to access easy credit loans to be able to promote startups and grow the economy. Dry season farming was enhanced. Seedlings were provided to farmers to be able to do what they need to do. Infrastructure development was also boosted. like we see in the development of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, Sokoto to the other highway that moved, that's already in place, up to build in Sokoto, I mean a village in Sokoto as it were. And then you could see other various infrastructure projects were also done. Government, to promote housing and education, created the Renewed Hopes Infrastructure Fund that speaks to boosting that also sector. Then special intervention funds and projects were also created to help the government meet its needs. So government is already working out and implementing this particular plan as it were. The economic management team has already commenced and given a signal that we have commenced this building the successor plan already. Now, the successor plan 2026-2030 is to provide sustainability to continue the catalytic growth that Nigeria has witnessed in executing this plan. Nigeria has actually also experienced economic growth in comparison with other competitive economies like her own. She has demonstrated rapid growth with the current interventions that the government has done. So government has been successful in doing it. And that is why at this point, not to allow a vacuum to exist, because we are in early 2025, first quarter, now second quarter 2025, not to allow a vacuum to exist, we need to bet the successor plan 2026-2030 that will be launched this year. It will replace this outgone plan after careful review and seeing all the areas. Now, in doing this, government has to now engage all stakeholders, organized private sector, federal ministry, department and agencies, even international partners, will all look at it. We'll all look at it, review it, and then improve the thematic areas. Currently, we have 37 thematic areas that we are also building upon. So, with the government is a continuum. So, as we move into the next dispensation of the plan, government has a continuation strategic document in its front that she will continue to implement the renewable agenda as it were going forward. So that there will be no vacuum at all. Okay. So this is important for the government. And it's important to note that plans help the country in its budgeting system. Why this is important is because data will be harnessed from the plan, the review of this current plan, that will be used in guiding the budgeting cycle of the country. When we have enough data from what we are going to review now, the budgeting office, the budget system will now say, oh, these are our plans, these are our priority areas. Then we'll be able to put a plan-based budgeting system, let the budget speak to the plans. Not the current system that we operate. We want to move, we want to strengthen it, because nations have adopted a plan-based budgeting and they moved forward with the data coming from planning to now guide and influence the budgeting cycle. So let the budget speak to the plan so that you would have a project conceptualized, initialized, and you finish it from start to finish. It will help us reduce budget deficit. It will help us to complete projects. There will be little or no white elephant projects. Projects that we cannot finish within a budget cycle year will roll over to the next budget cycle. Because every budget cycle is guided by a medium-term expenditure framework, which is a 3-year plan. So in the first year plan, there's an ongoing project, you don't finish that, you roll it over to the next year, next fiscal plan, and we now move and we complete it. So it will help us a lot. It will save it saves a lot of losses in terms of funds, fiscal funds. It will strengthen the economy, and it will even help us even to reduce external borrowing, because we'll be able to use the little funds we have. That is the concept of using your little funds to do more. You have little money, but you use it to do more, because there's carefulness in planning, and your plans will speak, your budget will speak to your plans, and you execute it finally. And the citizens, it's very important that citizens will own the plan. Citizens will see that the government is doing everything for them. That's why planning is critical to the sector. That's why the Ministry of Budget and Planning, we coordinate all the MDAs. We show them the pathway of the economic plan as well. So we make sure that they speak. We don't implement. We coordinate the economy, and as it were, and make sure the plan is central. Sense of direction to all ministry partner agencies.
But why I'm asking, you know why I asked? We have a problem of continuity. This is glaring. And I'll give you an example. There is no administration through the years that doesn't seem to appear to abandon projects. You will find abandoned projects that were started by previous administration, that were left and an administration will run throughout and not touch it. Is there any bind anything binding in this new plan, this incoming plan, that will ensure that people must, administrations must take up what has been started and finished, for instance?
Yes, there is. That's why my colleague mentioned a legislative buy-in, a legislative process, part of it. That legislative process means that we not only really created a plan, we have domesticated the plans within the country. Then we have also legislated the plan. Every plan should have an institutional framework. It should have a political framework. It should have a legal framework. So the legal framework ensures that government go, government come. Government is a continuum. The plans don't decimate. It doesn't disappear from the table. So wherever an implementation stops, next government ensures its continuity.
It's a rolling stone.
It's a rolling stone, like I said. The beneficiary are the citizens and the country. So a strategic plan is a driving document that helps every nation on earth to get to where it is. And every government and every governance process looks at the strategic objectives in its front. Nigeria is a federal structure with a 3-tier system of government, and currently with the local government autonomy granted, we have even projects can be executed at the local government level of governance under the supervision of the state government, where my federal government provides the omnibus supervision over all national projects and plans through the National Monitoring and Evaluation Department in the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. So planning is central. The Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning was formerly known as the National Planning Commission.
Oh, the ministry.
Yes.
Was what was taken off from. That's why the National Planning Commission ceased to exist.
The Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning is a metamorphosis of the National Planning Commission. This is to give it the bureaucratic structure it needs to be able to function better. Because the Planning Commission is the one that provides the roadmap and the blueprint for the government is following and tells the whole global world that we have a direction. So even when foreign partners want to come to the country, they first of all go to planning. They ask us, what is your plan?
So that they can
we show them. They align. That's what I'm trying to say. They align with our plans, our priorities, and our projects, so that their initiative and intervention will speak to what we are. And they also speak to themselves, so that they don't duplicate such interventions. And we monitor to ensure that the omnibus oversight function that we have, that they are speaking to what, if they deviate, we'll call them to order. No, you're not doing exactly what you have to do. And I can dare say, sir, that, like I said, every nation on earth has achieved this. While we are a country unique, we are making rapid strides and progress, and we should continue to embrace planning as the structure of national land development. That is why you have a national development plan.
Okay, thank you so much, Permanent Secretary, for that. Let's bring in Dr. Kenneth Kujali, who is the Director, Plans and Project. Dr. Kujali, can you just, tell us what are the key infrastructure development projects outlined in the NDP?
Yes, this is a very good question again. Before I get into that, I want to quickly add to what my dear brother and colleague of Director International Cooperation was talking about donors supporting the project. And your colleague was trying to ask a question in terms of Nigeria being independent in its projects, so that T-junction he was mentioning would not really affect our programs and projects implementation. That's very correct. He, from the international point of view, talks about budget support or project support. In our own country here, we are not doing budget support. In countries like Rwanda and other countries, they do budget support. So in that case, donors can bring in money and you begin to, use it, add it into the budgeting fiscal process for the country.
So how do we finance our own infrastructure?
But here in Nigeria, we deal with project support. So the project support in that case, that we have they identify projects. So it's through that project they bring in. But here in Nigeria, when we do our plan, what does the plan do? Because we want to talk about ownership, ensuring that the plan is owned by all. So we involve in all the segments. The Permanent Secretary just talked about the issue of national, subnational, to the extent of local government. And that is why, in the course of doing any plan, so that we can own it as a people, we involve all segments. So you will have participation. Planning process is not like the budget. Budget only comes in as instrument to operationalize a plan. It's an instrument. It's a tool. It's not a plan on its own. It exists because there is a plan.
Okay.
You understand? So what the plan does, in order to ensure that that plan is owned by the people, we have to involve all the segments, including traditional institutions.
Okay.
We involve all the states. Even the current one we're about to do, states will be represented. The current one we're also going to do, the local governments that have now gotten independence through the judiciary pronouncement will also be part of it. Civil societies, because plan contains both public spending and private spending,
okay.
so the private sector are also part of it. So whenever we are talking about a project to be executed, the first thing we need to do is to first of all look at the priorities of the government. The priorities of the government will have what is called a national priority. My colleague here, the director, he always asks, what is the national policy? We need to agree, so it is that kind of gathering of all the tiers of government and the public and private sector, civil society organization that brings about, you see, when government is doing a plan, because the plan has to be for the people, so it is not the one pronounced by the government. It is starts, we have what we call bottom-top approach.
Okay.
That's what we adopt. So it is from the bottom, they tell us what is their interest.
So what you are saying there is that you involve every strata of
Yes.
the society, the
Yes.
civil society
Yes.
group, the market
Yes.
organization,
Yes.
the
Labor,
capital market, labor,
all.
okay,
Students,
in putting
Yes.
up this plan.
Yes. So that is why it's very costly
Okay.
to do a plan.
Okay.
It's more costly to do a plan than to do a budget, because you can run a budget right here.
The budget is
You don't need to involve all Nigerians to do a budget.
Okay.
But you have to, like now you are in an NTA. We need to involve you because you must come with your own idea for the media side of it. So it has to be involved. And the same way the market woman who is in the market, the project that we need to execute
Okay, you
in the
involve
plan.
us through the Ministry of Information, right?
Yes, yes. In fact, as I'm even talking, the permanent secretary on 8th will be declaring open a meeting of the directors, that's PRS departments, of all the MDAs.
Yes.
And your ministry, information, is part, is also, we cannot invite you directly,
I know.
but we are speaking to your ministry, and at the end of speaking to your ministry, we expect that your ministry will cascade it down to all the agencies under them.
Okay.
And when they are cascading, if they invite the permanent secretary, they invite me, I will come to that meeting where I will now speak more on how it goes down to the micro level. So you can say that the process of planning is a bit more complex and more difficult and involving a lot.
All right.
But you have not told
Thank
us.
you.
So-
wait, you have not told us
Yes.
the key infrastructure. Okay,
Yes.
now.
That's why I'm saying, so I want to enter there now. So
Okay.
that area, for the key infrastructures, we are going to be, the plan will be looking at priorities, I said, of government. And one of the priorities of government is what? Infrastructure. Infrastructure has different classes.
Okay.
You have the core and the non-core. But within the core infrastructures, we'll be looking at security infrastructure. You'll be looking at physical infrastructure on the road. That is why the permanent secretary was talking about the coastal road, Lagos-Calabar coastal road.
It's a key example.
It's a key example because that project is just starting now. So definitely it cannot be completed in 1 year. So it has to be fully admitted in the new plan so that it can stretch.
If I let me even come in here, you could sectoral, you could see government are doing initiatives carefully. In education, government took an initiative to launch the students' loan, and that was to help students' accessibility to good quality education. Government also, like I said, in the agricultural sector, provided consumer credit scheme, and also to help people obtain loans, not just for agriculture, but also to boost small and medium-scale enterprises. and provide startups. Government also, through the Federal Ministry of Innovation and Communication and Technology, help to promote digital startups, encourage the youth to be able to move into that area and also grow the economy. In economic area, government has taken some bold steps to be able to drive economic growth. Like I said, fresh subsidy was removed. The forex market was unified, stabilized the exchange rate, and this is to help the investors, the local investors now, to be able to take charge and grow more and boost more in the economy, and also give confidence to our foreign investors that our economy is more stable, more foreign direct investment should come into the country. On infrastructure, he gave an example, government promoting rapid infrastructural growth. And what did that renewable budget do? It did by even creating a renewable infrastructure fund to drive infrastructure development across the sectors of across the landscape. And this was sectorally, you could pick it up. On healthcare, government upgraded many healthcare centers and even provided more manpower and also provided more funds. And that's why in this year's 2025 budget, you could see that government increased a lot of funds to security. And after security, the next sector was health. After that sector was education. So you could see that government was already implementing, by doing that, speaking to growing the human capital development, as it were.
But do you have timelines for the achievement of all these objectives?
Yes, like I said, every budget, every plan has every plan is smart. When we say smart, it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it is time-bound. So every plan is smart. So there's a time frame.
And that doesn't depend on, realities that you don't
depends on realities.
Even anticipate.
No, there is a contingency created in it. Because government creates this, government plans for contingencies. Natural disasters can occur that affect disruptive of the budget cycle. In 2020, we had the COVID. And COVID was unanticipated. And it happened. And contingency was created to be able to handle it. At the Federal Ministry of Budget, the NG Cares was a program that was created to mitigate the effects of the COVID era. Other natural disasters can occur. In advanced climate, earthquakes do occur. Things happen. But the same government will create a contingency as it were. So there's always a response. There's always a rapid response from government.
All right. Thank you, PS. Mr. Okonkwo. Yes. Now, the government aims to achieve a 4.6% economic growth. Yeah. Economic growth rate, and increase the revenue to GDP ratio to 15%. Given the current fiscal realities, how achievable is this?
Thank you very much. The foundation of every plan is a macroeconomic framework for the plan. That's the foundation of every plan. It's like a helicopter view of the economy. Now, to prepare the framework, you do projections. You establish investment size of the plan. Like this 2021 to 2025 is about 350 trillion naira. That's investment size. The private sector is taking up about 6%, while the public is doing only 14%. And when my brother was talking, he spoke about PPP arrangements. All these are strategies for implementing the plan. Now, to achieve the targets set in the plan, we are doing very, very well. The PAMSEC spoke about what has been achieved so far by the current plan. Now, 4.65% was the target. What are we doing today? What are we doing today? The economy has been growing consistently in the past couple of years, And once you set a target, is a guide, depending on other things, other factors, including resources, to achieve the target. The most important thing is that you have your eyes on the ball, and you are targeting it, you are getting close to it. The Agenda 2050 we have 7% as our target by 2050. And we have, you asked PAMSEC about the vision and all those stuff. The per capita GDP we targeted in that document was $33 million. per citizen. Currently, we are doing less than 2,000, 33,000 per citizen. We are doing less than 2,000 as we speak. But the plan is to have that, because we have comparative countries, we did benchmarking when we are doing the plan. We looked at China, looked at Indonesia, looked at Malaysia, and all those countries. I did benchmarking. I said, what did they do to get to where they are currently? What can Nigeria do to get that level? To get to that level. These are things we looked at. And then we now said, okay, we use different scenarios. And in doing that, we got 7% as a growth target. And from 2021 to 2025, we have 4.65% as our target. And we're doing pretty well as we speak. You know, we may not get to 4.65% by the end of this year, but we are on course. We have to stay the course. If you stay the course, you achieve your target. But we had economic summit last year. The World Bank chief came there and said the challenge Nigeria has is, like my brother said, we are not consistent in implementing our plans.
Which is a concern we have also raised here.
Yes, that is the challenge Nigeria has. But if we are consistent, staying the course, we will meet that target. He was talking about the interventions of government, the reforms government is introducing now. My pamphlet said it. The subsidy removal reform, the exchange rate liberalization, and all those kind of stuff. If we truncate it midway, we will not achieve anything. So it is better we continue to move on, you know, and then we have our eye on the ball, we must achieve. And if you can see, the economy is turning the corner. As we talk now, the economy is turning the corner, it's turning the corner. So what Nigeria needs to do is consistency in plan implementation. If we don't do that, we will not end up where we were. That's why this government should be supported in what we are doing.
Consistency.
And the report just reaching us indicates that the World Bank has approved 3 operations in Nigeria, totaling $1.08 billion in concessional financing to enhance education, nutrition, and economic resilience. So, Dr. Bibaro, with projects like this, I'm sorry, just a moment, we'll return to you. Okay. With projects like this, where do they find a place in our plans?
I have repeatedly said that the international community will not just come to Nigeria and say, we want to do this, we want to do that. They must ask for our plan. That's the first thing, because since 2005, that has been the mirror that guides them. They will always ask us during their designing stage, at the project inception stage, what are the things that they want us to support.
So these are priority areas.
They are priority areas: education, health,
nutrition, and economic
social protection issues, you know, governance and reform.
All right, we will take a break now. We'll come back to this conversation. I understand that Mr. Okonkwo wants to still make some points, but we'll come back to all of this just after this break. Please don't go away.
Well, creativity is so broad. I would say whatever it is that you're creative about, it takes a lot of practice before you become very good. So if it's something you intend to pursue, it's something you have to keep doing. You have to keep practicing. It's not going to be an overnight success, which a lot of people look for. But if it's something you're determined about, but the drawback rather, is that you need what is called staying power. While you're developing your creativity, you need to earn a living. So I know that's where the conflict usually comes in, especially with the hardship in the country and all that. But I think a lot of encouragement from the private sector to create incubator hubs. We've had some of those in tech. We need those across various sectors as well. Incubator hubs where these ideas can come in, be developed, be encouraged, be funded, and then we can expand it from there.
content creation, while it may sometimes get a bad rap, I think it's actually very important because we have to see ourselves. We have to see ourselves living our lives. We have to show and share our stories. I think that's very important. Now, the job after that is to be able to digitize those stories into something that can provide data and insights, that can ensure that we can be able to support whole-scale industry in these spaces, to ensure that the amount of money that each content creator is getting exceeds what is currently happening for many content creators. The same content creator who lives in Nigeria will be earning less than a content creator who's living in the US or the UK or Japan. And we've got to also bridge that gap, because most of that is being driven by the ability of the consumers to pay for those goods, and also the pricing that many of these platforms have. So I think this is not the job for the content creators and the young people. This is a job for people like myself in the ecosystem who can help support the right pricing, to advocate for the right policies, to support economic development for consumers who want to consume that information and that content. And even beyond content creation, we're seeing that many people are stepping in behind the camera. They are producers, editorial, they are graphic designers, they are in technology, but maybe not in front of the camera. And what we want to say is also, we need those people too. We need those stakeholders involved. And the job of many policymakers, DFIs, is to ensure that the strategic investments get there, the collaboration gets there, and we're deliberate in how we're saying we want to support innovation in our continent.
There's an age group where your brain function is at its maximum, and that's the age group we call the youth, isn't it? So we need the youth, the younger generation, who have the energy, the imagination to be equipped with the proper education, the proper tools, the proper encouragement, and then take what innovation they bring out and turn it into mainstream developmental ideas. So you find a lot of things that are invented by people in school or straight out of school. We need our patent laws to work so that they can earn a living from their imagination. Once the imagination is just for a one-year festival or an event, then it's not worth it. Somebody creates something, we need to get our patent laws to work, we need to enforce them, and then the private sector can use those patents to develop things and encourage more people to be more creative. Back in the days, yes, you had to be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor. Today we have programmers, we have AI specialists, we have people that are doing ethics on genetics. Those things didn't exist 50 years ago. So there are new areas that need to be explored. The question really, apart from the parenting, does our educational curriculum cater for what the needs of the world will be in the next generation? Because our curriculum is dealing with the issues of the past. We need the government and the private sector to redo the entire educational curriculum to be forward-focused, not retroactive.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Many thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And we've been discussing the incoming 2026 to 2030 plan of the Renewed Hope agenda. And just before we left, we went on that break. We were talking about how development partners, how aids and all of those key into our national plans. But let me get back to Mr. Okonkwo. Now, are there measures in place to ensure that the economy remains resilient? You know, and that's despite external shocks like global oil price fluctuations and exchange rate volatility, and add to it the emerging global trade war which the U.S. is setting off?
Thank you very much. The essence of the plan is to provide all those unforeseen, like my brother said before, circumstances that may happen. The shocks, external shocks, that's the essence of the plan. So the plan will accommodate issues that will impact the global community, especially like the oil price, you know. And that's why when you are doing the plan, you look at, sometimes when you are setting the price or the benchmark for the production and the price, you tend to be pessimistic so that you don't be so optimistic. So there are so many scenarios you have to look at. Pessimistic scenario, optimistic scenario, and do nothing scenario. Do nothing means stay where you are and continue what you have been doing. So these are the things we do when we do the framework, when we do the projections, and then look at those scenarios. By the time we finish doing the plan, we will get to say, okay, the oil price is going to be so and so amount for the first year of the plan, for the second year of the plan, until the 5th year of the plan. And then if so and so thing happens, these are the things that provide, you know, a kind of shock absorber to make sure that the economy remains resilient and stable. And as we are talking, if you look at the way the economy is moving, a lot of things that are happening in the international community now, Nigeria is not so much being impacted. It's because of what the current government is doing. The government is providing some level of shocks to absorb what is happening, you know. And then we are looking at a situation where we should save for the rainy day. Nigeria should save for the rainy day. And that's why we will advocate for as an account we had before. It is still there, but the account has been depleted. So it is important that we save, not sharing everything we get in the economy, and save external results. So we keep part of
the plan of what you prescribe.
That's what we are looking at when we are doing this current plan. We look at those areas to see why government should have something, a fallback option. If there is a problem in the economy, you can take money from there and support the economy. These are part of things we are looking at in the current national development plan we are trying to produce. So it is important that we look at these areas. But the challenge usually is the subnational governments. Nigeria is a federation. And that's why they have to be part of the planning process. And that's why my brother is saying, in fact, even the 2021, 2025, they were all part of the planning process.
Okay.
The states and the local governments and the private sector. So in fact, the institutional arrangement for the plan is that you have the steering committee, you have central working group, and you have technical working groups. Okay. You know, so the steering committee usually is chaired by a private sector person and co-chaired by a public sector person. So as to have that what we call ownership and buy-in of everybody in the plan. So by the time we do it, they be part of it, they know it, especially the subnational governments, so that once they agree on that, and then when you do the national plan, it's not a federal plan. It's owned by the entire country. It's a national plan. And we expect state governments in doing their own state plans to take a cue from the national plan. Okay. So these are the things we are doing.
All right, thank you.
The government removed the first subsidy to provide more funds to go to the state and local government.
No, let me ask.
So that they can be part of that plan implementation.
Yeah. So how do you get all these stakeholders, you know, engaged and involved in the implementation of this national development plan? Because without their involvement, active involvement, and well informed, you know, it won't be a success, and the sustainability will be, you know, challenged. How do you get them involved in it?
I like your question. It speaks to a jingle that NTA always speaks, the real Nigerian. The real Nigerian is every Nigerian from the grassroots upward. So there is a bottom-up approach. Government ensures citizens' engagement, citizens' participation. Needs assessments are done, feasibility studies are done together with the needs. And that's why my director plan said, yes, engagement goals and plans and priorities are uploaded. And in that planning, the government owns it. The entire citizenry own it from that bottom up with local government, state government, and federal. We all own it. We now put all that we own into a structured plan. The budget is to oil the plan. The budget provides resources to implement the plan. So definitely, the budget is a blueprint to implement what already has been prioritized and what already owns. So definitely, at every sector, through constant enlightenment, constant communication with the citizenry, constant engagement with the organized private sector, stakeholders, civil society organizations, everybody's involved. Educating even international partners, we would keep everybody abreast of what the plan is. So the plan is not just a document that should rest on the shelf in a volume. No, the plan should be constantly disseminated to all citizens. In fact, I would dare say, a child in primary school, secondary, university, they should know the plan. There should be a constant communication to every sector.
Is there any plan to, have it, in the school curriculum?
There is a plan. It is my duty as primary secretary. It's my duty everybody to own the plan and speak to it. We want to ensure that every sector of the economy educationally understand, know, own, and domesticate the plan. I want to bring a scenario to you. Like I said, if we go to a community, the community knows her needs. There should be a needs assessment, feasibility study. Politician goes there, he wants to build a school. The community says, no, we need a market square. If the politician builds a school, the community says, no, that's not what we need. They will not be satisfied. You know what has happened? The investor has expended funds wasted because the community is not satisfied by it. Yes, they have done something, but they didn't accept it. But if the investor has done exactly what the community wanted, their needs have been met, there's value for the money invested, you understand? And there's proper accountability and enhanced growth and economy. So it shows that engagement through the bottom-up approach helps everybody to be on course. And that's what makes this thing a robust resounding. So it is imperative that the taxi driver, the policeman, if the policeman understands the plan, there will be no collection of bribe at checkpoints because he knows his action is not helping national development plan. There will be no vandalism because you are destroying state property because you know you are supporting your country to get to where it is. The youth will not be restive. Why the youth are restive? Because even the youth some of them don't understand what a national plan is all about. But thank God that this government has engaged the youths, truly, and more youths are brought on board. The women group also brought on board. We have more women now in government side participation. So everybody gets to understand what the plan is. What does it speak to? What does it entail? So constant communication strategically, constant public enlightenment, constant education, disseminating to everybody will now own and understand the plan. A driver passing on a road may be passing, oh, there is a pothole in this road. He sees that the road is bumpy. The passenger will ask him, oh, this road is not good. When the driver understands the plan, he will tell the passenger, don't worry. It is in the next government plan approved for this year. According to that plan, this road will be fixed. That is amazing where the average citizen understands where government is going to.
But that takes a lot of advocacy, a lot of
That's why I said a lot of awareness, a lot of enlightenment. Doing enough, we are doing it and want to intensify it. We want to intensify it. We are doing it and we keep, like my brother said, we will need to stay the course to achieve where we need to go. That's why even the time we have for this discussion cannot allow us to exhaust it. It's an ongoing discussion. That we need to engage the citizenry, the community, everybody at all levels.
It is an ongoing
The importance of planning is central.
Okay, Dr. Kenneth, how do you monitor and... Okay.
Talking about plan implementation and involvement of other stakeholders. There is a plan implementation unit in the ministry.
Good.
And it's captured in this document you have, around page 80-something of that document.
187 of this same document, the plan implementation is inside.
So it is there. What we have done is to set up that unit in the ministry. It has a steering committee, headed by the vice president.
Okay.
Then we have membership cutting across all the MDAs, all the civil society organizations, development partners, and the state governments. They are all members of this. So they meet regularly to review what government is doing, how is it aligned to state plans, how is it aligned to government priorities, is it consistent with the plan we're implementing. So plus the volume 3 the legislative imperative that is designed to remove all the binding constraints to plan implementation. So all those things are put together to ensure that there is seamless implementation of the National Development Plan, just in addition to what the PAMSEC said.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Dr. Kenneth, I was asking you, what are the, how do you monitor and evaluate, the success of this plan?
Great one. Let me take it this way. You see, for the plan itself, has components that every segment of the society will monitor. One, the plan implementation unit, which he just mentioned, will involve people, agencies in the reporting structure, including even to the National Assembly. Now, in the plan, you have sectoral projects which are handled by sector agencies. In the ministry itself, where we are coming from, it is structured in a way that it is a representative of the ministry as a whole, of Nigerian economic sectors. So that is why when you come to that ministry, you will see a department called Infrastructure Department. What is that Infrastructure Department doing? It's overseeing the activities of all the MDAs that are involved in the capital projects, infrastructure projects. You come to a department, you call it social development. What is it dealing with? It's dealing with human capital department, MDAs, where you have education, health, and even you have environment. You come to a department called economic growth. It's talking about all the sectors of the economy that their activities can generate or result to economic growth. You see how it all goes. So there we now have what we call National Monitoring and Evaluation Department.
Okay.
That department works in tandem with the presidency, where you have a CDCU, where you have Madam Bala Usman, that's oversee that. So that department works in liaison with them to monitor, while the National MIE Office department in our ministry oversees the sites, goes to see how federal projects are implemented, not the state. The projects implemented by the federal is implemented. The CDCU will be talking about the policy coordination side of it. Then, how then do we bring in states and local governments? So that is why, in order to improve that aspect of ensuring or monitoring the implementation of the project, that DPIU now, that Development Plan Implementation Unit, will now brought in all the states and FCT.
Okay.
The directors of planning in all the 36 states plus FCT is now a member. We also have members, the local governments. We now have representatives of the local government. So in each geopolitical zone, because the local government is 774, so we cannot bring all the 774. So what we now do is that for each geopolitical zone, we take 2 representatives from local government. So 2 local governments come, 2 local governments. Then there will be a section where there will be a section where we interface with that zone, with these 2 representatives, plus the other agencies, other local governments that are not involved. So we have a way that we will be having a relationship between the federal, the states, and the local government. And to add to it, so that, whenever government monitors, the public, like as You from the media, you understand. They always tell you, say, this is a government report. So they don't really believe from, say, government. So in order to avoid such kind of a thing, we now have civil society organizations in this DPI, in the implementation unit.
So as to give credibility.
So that they can give credibility to it. We also have the private sector now.
All right. All right.
Okay. There is also a digital monitoring.
Thank you.
I would mention the IMAC, which allows everybody, organizations, individuals, communities at all levels, state, local, and federal, using a digital app application called IMAC. They are able to also monitor and send the feedback. It is a project. It's a project going on in an area because everybody in every project site you see a project board that states who is doing it, when it's supposed to be. They monitor, they take pictures and upload and give success report on this thing. So the monitoring is robust.
Sorry.
Everybody's involved in monitoring. The data comes national monitoring evaluation.
Yeah, but some of these projects, when you look at the board, you look at the time frame, and you find out that most of the time they don't keep to the time frame. For instance, they will say this road will be completed in maybe a year or two, and it's extending to 4, 5, 6 years.
Let me help you. That is why plan-based budgeting is good. Because when you have a plan, we have a priority infrastructure you want to build. You've identified it. The next thing now is to affix a budget to it. You do a cost implementation, which will now bring into your budgeting cycle. Your budget will now be, we will now come out with an amount that you have already costed that will speak to that completion of that project. So you are able now to have the funds released to you within that year to start and finish the project. So what have you achieved? You've achieved completion of that project within the timeline you have said.
What when that project is not completed within that time frame?
Good question still, because budget is a projected revenue. Because in budgeting, you want to know where you're getting your money from. We have two major sources. We have the oil sector giving us money. We have the non-oil sector and the services to come up, and other taxes and all that. If we don't have releases enough to the contractors and those two, you don't have adequate releases, they will not complete it. So inadequate release of budgeted funds is a factor.
Because I was going to say,
that would affect
we won't
project
have,
completion.
We won't have uncompleted projects.
That was
if everything works as smoothly as you
but
say.
That's why we need to have a plan-based budgeting.
We are running out of time.
Yes.
I just want to take this question with Dr.
Kimaro.
Just for 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
You see, once you are doing a plan is futuristic.
Yes.
You are not planning for yesterday. Yes. And therefore, there is possibility that these projects will not be completed. But what we are now allowed is that we have what we call ongoing projects and new projects. So when the project is not completed within the plan, we make sure that in the subsequent plan, like as we are doing a successor plan now, those projects that were started in this plan could not be complete will now be readmitted to continue.
Right. Yeah. All right. But we have also seen anyway that administrations come and there were projects abandoned or the projects they met ongoing and the project remains ongoing by the time they leave because they don't work on it. Yes. In any case, Dr. Bibaru, I just have to take this. International financial institutions, often provide development funding. I mean, we read just a while ago, the World Bank coming to our aid again, but debt sustainability is always a concern. So how is the government balancing foreign investment, with responsible borrowing in this case? How should we do that?
Thank you very much for that very question. Earlier on, the first question you asked was about bilateral and multilateral agreements.
We have just about a minute to go.
Oh, sorry. Okay, now the European Union, they finished the 9th, 10th, and 11th EDF. They are now implementing Global Gateway Initiative. The agreement that my honorable minister recently signed, the Samoa Agreement, is to cover the initiative and the projects and programs that the European Union or 27 countries are bringing into the country. So those projects aligns with our national development plans and priorities. The focus is on agriculture and food security, energy, education, health, digitalization, and social protection. So those are the key, even in National Development Plan or the 8-point agenda of Mr. President. These are court-crossing issues. They are all there.
Okay.
So that is how the international community, they will not, even when they stay in their own country to develop their own project, they must look at our documents.
Okay, Dr. Samson Ebimero, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because of time, we'll not be able to finish your thought, but we thank you for the contribution made so far. Dr. Samson Ebimero is the Director, International Cooperation, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Thank you so much for coming. Also, Mr. Felix Okonkwo is the Director, Macroeconomy Analysis, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you very much.
Also, we want to thank Dr. Kenneth Kwajeli. He's the Director of Plans and Projects, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Thank you so much for your perspective.
Thank you so much, too, for
and last but not the least, Dr. Vidalis Obi MNI is the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Dr. Obi.
Thank you so much. And a big thank you, because the lead in all we are discussing is the Honorable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning. He is the lead, he is the brain, he's the think tank driving it.
Thank you.
So we need to give kudos to him and the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic, because they're both in planning and making sure planning central to the country.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We have more time, maybe in future, to at least to do more discussion on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria. I am Ademola Ade. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Victor. So we'll see you again tomorrow.